The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday after the snowstorm in the Riv.
With another snowstorm tomorrow.
And another one coming, and then another one Thursday into Friday, maybe. So it looks like that February we had a while back where it was snowing 2 or 3 times a week, and it was really cold. So we're going to have a very cold week, so stay safe. Watch the ice, because there can be black ice, regular ice, ice under the snow. So be careful so you don't hurt yourself. And but I don't know. We're going to have a COVID report, Starfleet Admiral COVID. I'm leaving that up to you since we're only getting them once a week now.
Well, we're getting those once a week from the mayor, but we do still have the state numbers. And if push comes to shove, I can get the local numbers again. So I'll keep an eye on that. But the state numbers for yesterday are 516,530 total cases, 3,004 new cases, 14,698 for total deaths. New deaths is 76. Bristol County is 52,545 cases. Now, accordingly, I gave Fall River's numbers for last Friday, but again, it's good to have. There was 11,591 cases of COVID-19 have been identified in Fall River, Mass, and we have 291 fatalities. That number hasn't changed since Friday's show. It was Thursday's numbers. The mayor has decided he does not want to give out the numbers anymore on a daily basis. I don't know if that's taking up too much time or if he feels because we're on a downward decline. If it's not necessary, I personally think that that's a decision that each person has to make individually for themselves. But I know for a fact that people want to know. So I will look into providing those numbers from the reports I get from the state. Another thing while we're on COVID, it hit the social media yesterday that St. Anne's Hospital was giving out the COVID vaccine. St. Anne's Hospital is giving out, I spoke with them this morning, they are indeed giving out the COVID vaccine, but they are only giving it out to phase 1 people. That's healthcare workers, fire, EMS, police. That's it. They're not giving it to PCAs. They're not giving it to people over 75. They're not giving it to anyone else. If you keep calling them up, you're going to be bogging down their phone numbers, and they're going to tell you the same thing. It's not going to happen. I asked them about PCAs, and that's why I mentioned that particularly. And they said that currently they are not capable of giving out the vaccine to PCAs unless they work for an agency that they're contracted with. That would be like Bristol Elders or something. So don't be calling them trying to find out if you can get the vaccine from them, because guess what? You're like everyone else. You're going to have to try to get it at either BCC or CVS or Walgreens or somehow like that. And they're very hard to come by. I've been told that you have to get on these websites at like 12:01 in the morning to get the next available set of appointments, because they go like within 5 minutes. So keep your eyes open and keep trying.
Well, that's good informative information. We need the informational pipeline here. And I also heard, I believe it was on Channel 10, I'm not sure, but one of the local channels, because I do watch a lot of news, and they said that 19 out of 20 cities and towns in southeastern Mass, which is obviously Fall River, which would basically be all the towns and cities in southeast, what's classified as the South Coast, are in the hot zone. Still remain in the hot zone. So the only one that wasn't in the hot zone, they identified as Easton. And for you people who don't know where Easton is, just drive up 195, and before you get to Brockton, to look at it. That's where Stonehill College is. But I think we need to know where we are, and I think that I know they watch the show and they try to get rid of us, to cancel. The politicians try to cancel out anything they don't like and remove. But we'd like to know, since you're watching, why don't you tell us if we're in the red zone?
We are in the red zone. We are in the red zone. I got the report last night. I looked it over. I get it every night. I look over the report. Fall River is still in the red zone. While our numbers may have gone down, they have not taken us out of the red zone. And as a matter of fact, the way they delineate who's in the red zone and who isn't, red, yellow, and green, is on the report. They're color-coded. So you know right away when you look at Fall River, it says red zone. So you don't have to worry about it. But Fall River still is in the red zone.
Well, there again, it puts us in kind of a paradox here. Don't you think if we're still in a red zone, we should be getting more information rather than less? I mean,
I agree.
Obviously, that is a rhetorical question, because you know where I stand on that. So I think we should be getting more information. But while we're on the subject of not getting actual information or getting distorted information, I think I really got to mention this. There was how brainwashed. They talk about Goebbels, and it was ironic that Biden mentioned Joseph Goebbels at one time, talking about the other side. Yet they're the ones who are using it, and they're succeeding. There is a controversy whether Goebbels actually just wrote something that Hitler said in Mein Kampf, but it doesn't make any difference. But it's working. They're brainwashing with the media. They're brainwashing the people of this country, and it's scary. Listen, I expect politicians to be totally disingenuous, and if their lips are moving, they're probably lying. And if you get a half truth, you can celebrate. But they've now convinced a lot of the American public that's what's causing the problems we see in this nation. I don't know if you saw it today, but I was watching this morning, and there was an op-ed piece in the Los Angeles Times by some woman, I guess. I don't know whether she was a writer or what. I've got to look up the article, because I did see excerpts of it. But I'm going to tell you how brainwashed. This shows how brainwashed they've made these people, and it's working, and it's dangerous. This woman wrote an op-ed about the Trumpites that live next door. They had the audacity to plow out her driveway and clear her sidewalk. And she said, I don't know what to do about this. I can't believe, that they did it. But the problem was, as she went along in the op-ed, they're so brainwashed, they think that everybody who has a different opinion is a Nazi or a terrorist. They've convinced people in the United States, a country where you have the right to have a different opinion, that if you do, you should be executed or put in a re-education camp. She went on to say that, well, Hezbollah does give out things to people and take care of some of their people. Hezbollah, the terrorist organization for the Shiite Muslims. And the Nazis did it too. The Nazis took care of some people. So in other words, that these people didn't do this just because they were neighbors. That they did it because they supported Trump. So now talk about discrimination. To take 75 million people and call them terrorists because they have a different opinion in the United States of America, it's totally out of control. It's just absolutely out of control. You can't make up this stuff. I mean, this is how bad it's getting. And the media is contributing, because look at the media. They're so biased that, I mean, look at the coverage. Did anybody cover the fact that AOC, and I don't know if you saw that Emmy Award winning acting on the floor of the Congress when she was up there and telling her story on Twitter, and how they were banging on her door and yelling, "Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?" And the guy came bursting in the door, and then she found out it was a Capitol policeman, but she was still afraid, and she had flashbacks, and she's got trauma. And then Tlaib shows up. Tlaib shows up at the Congress, and she wasn't even in Washington. She was home. And she starts babbling how that gave her trauma just watching it on TV. They're trying to condition us. And then we find out that AOC was a 7 to 10 minute walk away from where the riot was. 7 to 10 minutes. And a congressperson who was 2 doors down said there was nobody in the hallway. But the thing that boggles my mind is they've established that didn't happen. And if you or I went there and told a story like that, we would be asked to take a urine test to see what kind of drugs we were on, that we were hallucinating. When we were 10 minutes away from where this is happening, and you're hearing people banging on the door and yelling. But then what they did was that's the thing that disturbs me most. They rationalized the behavior. So now, just like you can identify yourself as what sex you are, or you're no sex from day to day, they have now got to the next level where you can get post-traumatic stress syndrome even if you weren't exposed to anything. You can just make it up in your mind because you knew what was going on somewhere else. You can traumatize yourself. So that made it, but that's okay. If you can do that, well, I think you need some psychiatric attention. But the problem is they were justifying it. They're saying, oh, I can understand how that can happen. Was it theater? Or are they truly that fragile? Remember, they wouldn't bring in the National Guard when people's houses were being burnt, businesses were being burnt, people were being killed in the streets. But when a few hundred crazies entered the Capitol building, they wanted 50 caliber machine guns to be brought in to shoot them. And they didn't burn down the Capitol. They broke a few windows. But the fact is that there's a problem in this country, and it's being perpetrated by the ruling class and the rich. It's dangerous. And I'm telling you all, pay attention. Listen, I have my views, but I don't want to shoot everybody that has a different view. I'd rather just argue them until they run away. So I'd rather argue with them. And that's what this country's about. It's about having a divergent opinion. We can't stand for this anymore. The people have to wake up. Spread the word. And it's on all levels of government. We see they cover everything up. They're not responsible for any of their actions. And then we get to suffer. So I just have to, because this really, it bothers me. And I see it now because What did we have last night? We were getting all kinds of calls about the people being out to tag the cars again.
Yep.
So, and I know they're going to say, because they watch this, and they're going to say, "Oh, here they go again." They're gonna condemn. That's because it has to be done because we got to plow. And I got to say that I think I had my street plowed more in yesterday's snowstorm than I ever had in my entire life living on this street. And it's been a long time I've been living on this street. But I will tell you, I've been living on this street a very, very long time. The only time I can think of in the past 40 years that they tag people is when we're in financial, when they're looking for money. When they're really, really aggressive with this stuff, they're looking for money. But I don't know what kind of job they did, but I know my streets. I know we didn't get a lot of snow, but I think they went down my street like 170 times. But probably to keep me awake most of the night. But it's down to the pavement. So, but just beware. They're looking to give out tags. But be careful, people. The country is getting very dangerous.
Fall River is dangerous.
Yeah, well, yeah. But remember now, but they're saying it isn't. Even though that it wasn't people from Fall River, there were 2 or 3 different national agencies that said Fall River, we were in the top 50 for drugs, we were in the top 50 for danger. So, I mean, let's face it, it is a dangerous place.
Yes, it is. Well, interestingly enough, you brought up the tickets, and I think that this administration is probably one of the more aggressive administrations in issuing these tickets, because from what I was told, they went down to the end of the street, got out of their car in the snow, walked up the street, and tagged every car going up the street. That says a lot. I mean, they're getting out in the snow to tag these cars on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, we know that they're hard up for cash. They've said it several times in the city council, so we know they need money. And speaking of money, from what I was told this morning, people are already getting their excise tax bills. So you can expect another handout to go into your pocket, and they do March 5th or March 8th or something like that. So be expecting your bill in your mail today or tomorrow. You'll probably have it. So,
well, yeah, but you notice that we're hot up for money. And again, we get back to the overlying theme is that's why they want to cancel everybody that tells people to pay attention. Yet, was there a moratorium on the automatic cost of living raises for high paid administrators? I don't think so. Will next year's budget contain pay raises for all kinds of people? Probably. Are they going to bring a $5 million appropriation for athletic fields for the new high school in front of the council for a bond? Probably. This is why I tell you got to get rid of them, because the people who vote for this kind of stuff have to go. They never, ever stop spending money. We're broke. When you're broke, you can't tax your way to prosperity, and neither can they. The reality is that they never stop spending because nobody ever bounces them. You need to put people back. Remember the good old days, CJ, when a mayor was petrified to raise taxes?
yes.
Especially in an election year. They were absolutely, in the city council too. You couldn't get a tax rate increase through if your life depended on it in an election year in the old days, because they would have got bounced. But all those people have moved out of Fall River. All the people that moved to Somerset and Swansea and Rehoboth and Dighton and Westport and Dartmouth or California or Florida, those people all bailed. They could bail. The people that stayed here, some of the elderly that couldn't move out and stuff, they're stuck they're stuck with these endless taxes and endless spending. And so you got to go out to the polls, and you got to change this, because pay attention. I remember Brad Kilby on his soapbox the last time. We need a million more dollars for the athletic fields. We got to get. Well, why do we? Why do we? Matter of fact, I think half of that school's on the old athletic field, and you can't use it because of the configuration. So we blew the money. You can't play a football game at Conley's football field. You can't figure out. Remember the old days at Durfee? The football field wasn't even on the property. It was on Ellsbury Street. It was on Alumni Street. In the old days, Durfee played football in a location that was totally away from the high school. In the old location and the new location. There are now houses there. But they didn't even have a football field there on site. But now we're going to spend $5 million. Listen, if we had $5 million, if this city had a ton of surplus money, I'd be the first guy to say, let's spend some money on football fields and athletic fields, because I believe athletics are a great, great thing. Teaches students some discipline, teaches them that if you work hard, you get better. And I think athletics is a very positive thing. However, when a city's broke and a city is in the condition we're in, for these people to be just blowing money is crazy. How many children do we have on the meal plan? Right? About what, 75, 80%?
Well, the entire city now is a free meal program because of the high number of students we have. Prior to, probably the only good meal 75 to 80% of the kids in our schools got was the free meals they got at the schools. Doesn't anybody in that council chamber, doesn't anybody on the 6th floor look at that and say, well, you know something, maybe we got a lot of poor people here? Do they ever look at the stats on this city that nearly 25% of the people are living below the poverty line? That the average income is like 1/5 of what Newton's is. We got one of the lowest household and per capita incomes in the state. Do you think somebody that's spending this money will ever give a damn about the taxpayer and about the poor people? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Just like they don't pay attention to the BS that they're doing on the federal level and not paying attention to the needs of the people in the United States. They're doing the same thing in this city. They never stop spending money. So let's look closely at the budget this year. Let's see how much money they spend. And we got no money. But remember, you can't give yourself a pay raise when you can't pay your rent. You can't give yourself new golf clubs so you can be a little athletic. No, the average person actually has to tighten their belt. Well, while you're speaking about salaries and tightening your belt, the mayor is asking the city council to remove the ceiling levels on salaries. Dear honorable council members, during the budget preparation, we found the following ordinance should be updated to reflect the information, both salaries and titles, which will be included in my proposed budget. Section 50-301 includes the salary schedule for executive officers, department head, and non-union personnel. The attached ordinance is requesting a change to the ceiling salary amount for certain non-union positions. This includes an increase equal to the increases approved for the American Federal of State, County, and Municipal employees for 7/1/2019 and 7/1/2020, as well as the increase to the ceiling not to exceed amounts. Section 50-302 removes the not to exceed ceiling for 3 positions, which are contract positions, All other contract positions do not include a not to exceed ceiling amount in section 50-302. The other sections referred in section A of 50-315 sub 1 are currently being negotiated, and we will provide an update to this section and in section B upon approval of those contracts. So again, we're taking care of our people by giving them pay raises that the city cannot afford. What's it going to take, Mr. Mayor, for you to understand the city can no longer afford these pay raises? What's it going to take for you to understand the people of this city can no longer afford the increased taxes? They're willing to give up services. They're willing to give up services to not have their taxes go up. And don't threaten them with this cut in police and fire, because that's bull, and you know it. There are other places to cut, like maybe a CFO. Maybe we don't need that position. We've got 3 people doing it in the city. How many people do you need to do one job? It's time to streamline government and make it more efficient. Not time to raise the pays and make people happy. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way.
I'm raising my hand.
I noticed.
I got an answer to your question. What do they need to make them understand that? Maybe an election. That's my answer. So what you're telling me, CJ, is, in that reading that, is that we're looking to raise people's salaries and do everything while the same administration that said we were going to get the debt override in 23 is going to propose it early, that they're going to get a separate bond for athletic fields and didn't put that into the original school costs. And they're going to give a whole bunch of people pay raises while they raise property taxes, implement the override, probably assess higher, and just say, well, this is what this is the right thing to do. So isn't it, look, hey, you can believe that. You can believe that. But I'll tell you what, the person over there can barely pay his rent, can barely afford anything. The people that are living below the poverty level, the people whose rent they can barely afford now, they can't live like that. We have a disconnect. We can't do this anymore. You know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's like Jeff Bezos. He gave hundreds of millions of dollars to get mail-in ballots and help this election get screwed up. But now when Amazon's looking at getting a union in Alabama, what is he doing? He's complaining. He doesn't want mail. He wanted in-person voting, but he lost on that one. So you can't, that's the whole problem we have with government, hypocrisy. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If we got to tighten our belts, if our bills go up, nobody's giving these other people pay raises where they work. But you're going to do it? Well, hey, look, we'll just let the public decide, but pay attention.
True. And I mean, all you got to do is look at your water bill and you'll see what the city thinks about you. Look at your water bill. Look at your taxes. Look at what you're not getting for services. I mean, Mary Sahadi went out and posted on social media that she was very impressed by John Perry and the way they handled the plowing in the city, because her and her dogs were able to go out and walk, I guess, in the street. Maybe because that was your street, Mary, because you're you're part of the upper echelon of people in the city. It wasn't my street, I'll tell you now. But don't get me going on that. Well, it looks like we're out of time. I want to thank you for watching. Remember, take into consideration what you vote for in September and November, because you can vote to change your life or you can vote to make it worse. Stay safe, stay angry, and wear a mask. Thanks for watching.